ahead and get everyone checked in. I see that we have, it looks like Robert Rich. If Mr. Rich, if you could unmute, just confirm that that's your name and let me know who you're representing here today.
Yes. Robert Rich, and I am the design consultant. I'm a retired architect for the owners of the house.
Okay. All right. Welcome. And looks like we have two folks under the Phil Swinson name. If you could each unmute and give me your names and who you're representing here today.
I am Claire Rich.
I'm Phil Swinson.
And we are the owners of the home.
Awesome. All right. Welcome. Are you all expecting anyone else to join us on the owner applicant side of this?
No.
Okay, fantastic. I see that we also have Kate Meehan from the zoning department. Welcome, Kate.
Hello.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. I need to read through our hearing script. This basically just covers the procedure for the hearing, and then we will jump right into it. So this is the August 9th, 2023 session of the zoning hearing examiner docket. The case before us today is case number ZH20230122. That's 6237 Beechcrest Pl. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and any potential opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and supplemental rules of the zoning hearing examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any potential opposing party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. So for our purposes here today, I'll allow either Robert Rich, Claire Rich, or Phil Swinson to tell me about the project, any background they think is important or necessary for me to know. And then of course, what the relief is that you're requesting and why you think that relief is appropriate for this particular property. You all can orient that presentation however you'd like. One of you can speak, all of you can speak, whatever order you'd like. I'm pretty liberal about how you guys want to do that. I just need to get the information out and hear about it. If there were anyone here from the public, they'd have an opportunity to speak after you all had told me about the project. There isn't. If by any chance anyone joins, they look through the hearing, I'll allow them to speak after you guys have told me about the project. I'll then go to Kate Meehan, who will provide any testimony in addition to her staff report. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to this application, you'll have an opportunity to respond to any of that testimony that was offered in opposition. I'll have some questions along the way. I'll allow you all to make any closing statements and then we'll wrap it up. After all presentations have been made, I'll close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make any comments. In the event of any technical difficulties with the Zoom technology, I'll do my best to troubleshoot those on the fly, but to the extent there's some defect that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with this hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing. That'll be at my discretion. And then I think that's it. Finally, I just need to swear in all of our witnesses. So if you intend on providing any testimony here today, making any comments, asking any questions, really doing anything other than just strictly observing, then the zoning code requires that I swear you in prior to your testimony. So if you know now that you'd like to provide some testimony, if you could make sure that you're off mute and raise your right hand. I need everyone to answer out loud who's going to testify. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes.
I do.
Okay, great. Thanks, everyone. All right, who's going to be taking the lead here on telling me about the project?
I'll go ahead and start, and then I think I'll hand it off to our design consultant when I'm finished.
Okay, great. Sounds good. The floor is yours.
Okay. So when we first bought our house, we really loved the character of the home. We really enjoy being in Mount Washington. Since buying our home, we started out just as a couple. Since then, we've had a daughter. And so our family is growing, but we love our home and we don't want to leave it to try to find something larger. We love to walk to Mount Washington Library, to Stanbury Park, to the businesses that are in our little downtown. So with this addition, we're hoping that we can have our home grow with us as a family, but to preserve its character, so that we can have, the beautiful home, but also meet our family's needs. So really what we're hoping is that the addition will be done in just kind of a seamless way so that it appears, to be almost original. We want to, maintain the integrity of the neighborhood. We want it to appear natural. That's our goal. But we love our home. We want it, we want to stay in it. But we do have some needs for just a larger space with our growing family. But for like specifics of what that will entail, I think I'll go ahead and hand it off to our design consultant.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So some disclosure here, I am related to the owners. That's why we have the same last name.
Thought that might be the case. No problem.
And I'm not an architect, but I am a retired architect. So I practiced in Cincinnati for almost 40 years. The owners gave me the criteria. They wanted to expand the house, but at the same time, they wanted to keep it within the character of the neighborhood. They preferred that the addition appeared to be seamless. And it's a small addition as well. So
how big is the addition? Do you know offhand?
I think it's 400 and it's 341 habitable square feet.
Okay.
And there is also a screened-in porch on the lower floor that I think doesn't count in that square footage. So what it is essentially, it's just extending the east and south walls in alignment with the existing house, and extending on the side that has that, where we need the variance from 3 feet, it only extends 11 foot. And then from the other side of the house, which is just the width of the kitchen, it extends for 14 feet, but it's really in aggregate only an 11-foot extension because we're removing a 3-foot bay addition to the kitchen.
And when you say extends 11 feet and 14 feet, you mean towards the rear of the property?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. The house is no wider and no taller, or the addition is no wider and no taller than the existing house. It's just literally an extrusion toward the rear of the house and well within the rear setbacks of the house. And in fact, I think if you look at the aerial, which you'll see in your staff report, it's really, the extension is really no more than what some neighboring houses have. I think not the immediate neighbor to the west, but the one beyond that, it's no farther into the rear yard than that house is as well. The house is only 2 rooms wide. The existing house is only 2 rooms wide, and this addition primarily just expands the kitchen and then adds a room off to the side of the kitchen, which will be convenient for the parents to be able to kind of oversee any play activity, for the kids normally. They can be in the kitchen playing. I mean, their daughter is a little over a year old, and monitor that. And then they also have out of town, Phil's parents live out of town and come occasionally to visit, and the room could be converted for their use when they come to visit. The room that's added is 11 by 11 on the outside, so it's slightly less than that on the inside. If we were required to comply with the new setback requirements, that room could only be 7 foot deep, which for the most part makes it not useful for either of those purposes. So that's why I guess the primary reason for the relief would be to make that room useful for the use of the house. The next door house, the house that is to the west, that where we're requesting the 3-foot variance to be equal to what it is now, has a driveway that goes along that property line, and their garage is in the rear of the house. So I think it's unlikely that house, even if it had future owners, would expand toward that property line, because it would cut off access to their garage that's at the rear of the house.
Is that the neighbor on the west or the east?
It's on the west
Okay.
side. I think it's the west property line.
Yep.
And I may have created some confusion because in an earlier submittal, I think I transposed east and west on the descriptions.
No, I just, as I'm looking at it, looks like a driveway sort of abuts the
Yeah.
property line on either side. So I was just wasn't.
Yeah.
Is that right?
And the driveway for this house, or the garage for this house, is on the east side, and it is also underneath the house. So, I mean, as an option to expand that way, it would cut off access for the drive on the east side of this house.
Mhm.
So the strategy was, let's just go straight back. Let's it has a gabled, you can see a strong gabled presence that runs north south on the house. Just extend that happens to be the width of the kitchen, which is primarily where they needed the extra space. The kitchen in the existing house is pretty small. And so to make that work, for the family to be able to, eat sort of in that space and as well as to work, both of the owners like to cook. So a lot of their activity centers around cooking and dining in the kitchen. So I thought the staff report was pretty comprehensive, and so I don't know that there's a lot that I need to say that hasn't already been addressed in the staff report. I just thought I'd make these few comments, and I'm happy to answer any questions that might come out of the presentation of the staff report.
Sure. Sounds good. I don't think I have any additional questions right now. Let's see. See if Kate wants to add anything. Kate?
I don't have a whole lot to add. I think Mr. Rich gave a pretty comprehensive description of the new addition that's proposed. As he mentioned, the addition is pretty modest, so the rear setback will be maintained. It really is just that they need relief on that west side because they have a non-conforming setback on that side. It is, I think, 3 feet, and it, per the current zoning code, it should be a 7-foot setback. But again, this home was built, I think, in the 20s, so well before current zoning was in place. So it does have that non-conforming side yard setback. As Mr. Rich noted, there is a driveway on that west side, so I don't feel that the addition, it's not going to, I think, impede that owner on that side anymore, because there is some space between this house and the neighbor with that driveway. And then on the other side, I believe there is a shared driveway on that east side. Again, the addition is not going to be right up against a neighbor's property. There is some space there, so I don't feel that it really will have much impact. And I can tell you, I did get a call from a neighbor last week, and they weren't calling to offer any kind of opposition. They were just curious about what was going on here, and they did not really have any, opinion for or against. They just were curious about what was happening. So I did get a call from them last week. And otherwise, I don't think I have any other comments, unless you have any other questions for me.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I don't think that I do, Kate.
Okay.
Thanks for your testimony and your work on the staff report. Mr. Rich or the owners, would anything you want to say in response to Ms. Meehan's comments?
As I said before, I thought that her staff report laid it out pretty well and described it pretty well. And from our perspective, this is a pretty modest addition, but it's appropriate to the size of that house. The houses in that neighborhood are modest. and and it was, the owners didn't want to do something that would be out of character with the neighborhood. So, that we worked on this for a number of months to get it right size. And and I think it will be an attractive addition as well to the neighborhood. I think that, that what's planned will, bring more light into the kitchen and be also attractive in appearance. Right now they bought the house and it has a deck that it is not in such a great condition as well as its sort of non-conforming construction, the code wise. And so it will remove that from the back of the house. And really this addition is no deeper than what that existing deck is. So I think it will, from the neighbor's standpoint, what they see on the back of the house will be more attractive than what's there now.
Okay. Only questions, and it's just to confirm for the record, this will not extend the existing nonconformity of I mean, it will, stretch it further to the back, but it won't go beyond what the existing nonconforming setback is, correct? On that west side.
It will be the
Gotcha.
proposed new wall aligns with the existing wall on
Right.
both sides.
And if you were to try to conform to the setback restriction, which I believe it's 7 here, right, Kate?
Correct. It's in
would it-
SF6.
Would it be possible to build an addition on the rear of the home that was at all functional or economically feasible while staying within the 7-foot requirement?
Well, as I explained earlier, the house is only 2 rooms wide.
Right.
So, I mean, to offset those rooms would make them essentially non-functional. And, the kitchen itself, if the kitchen had to have an offset expansion, it just wouldn't really function well as a kitchen. So,
Yep.
And you can see on the plan, it's a pretty simple extrusion of what's there and trying to make the most out of adding the least amount of space. If it were to be, say, a 20-foot addition or a 25-foot addition, maybe you could make it work, but all that would do would be creating, more kind of more house that's not necessary, which could, also, impede neighbors' views. And so
Okay.
it's trying to get the most out of it, trying to find that sweet spot, really.
Sure. Okay. Anything else you have to say in closing or otherwise before we adjourn here today?
I might just note, just adding on to what Mr. Rich was saying, that, if they had to follow strictly the current zoning, they could probably only do really a functional 1-room addition on the back. And again, I think it would have to extend farther into the rear yard, which then maybe, depending on the size, maybe you then also get into having an issue with the rear yard setback. So I think this seems very reasonable, given the restrictions that they have. And again, because of the modest size, it's not greatly extending that nonconformity on the west side.
Gotcha. Thanks, Kate. Okay, any final words from the applicant or owner on this? Okay, we'll leave it at that. Thank you all for your time and your testimony here today. I have had a chance to review the application materials and the staff report. Based on that, based on the testimony that I've heard here today, I think it would be impractical to strictly enforce the zoning code to this project, so I'm going to approve the requested relief. I need to formalize that approval in a written decision. I mentioned at the beginning that typically takes about 2 weeks. I think that's realistic based on the current queue of cases that I have. Do everything I can to get that to you as soon as possible. What I do, as soon as I finish the written decision, I put in the PDF, I email it to everybody who's in the hearing here today. So you all will get a copy of that really just moments after it's complete. As soon as you have that, Kate can approve the permitting on the zoning, and assuming that there's no other outstanding building considerations that you're waiting on, hopefully you'll be able to move forward with the project at that point. But from a zoning perspective, at that point, you'll be in the clear.
I have a question. I have a question just about the process because we haven't heard from the building code part of this process, and since it's been, I guess, 6 weeks since we submitted for the zoning variance, I'm assuming that the code permit part is just being held until there are some results from the zoning hearing. Am I assuming that correctly, you think?
That is typically, I think, accurate. Kate, can you provide any additional insight?
Yes, I would agree. The building plan examiner may have seen, there was a denial and that this would be going to a hearing. So at that point, they may have put their review on hold until the results of the zoning hearing are known. I know sometimes the building plans examiners will go ahead and do their review and send out any comments if there are any. And then I think other times they may wait, if they see that there's a hearing that will take place, they may just reserve their comments until after the hearing and once they know the outcome of this.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, knowing that this will be approved, I don't think it will hurt to reach out to whatever building plans examiner, if you know who you're working with or who that is, or reach out to the building department in general and just, confirm with them that that they have everything that they need to make the determination. You can mention to them that this will be approved and you're waiting on a decision, just to try to expedite the process if at all possible.
Okay. Thanks for that advice.
Sure. Okay. Well, yeah, if you have any other questions about the process or just like a status update on the decision, feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm happy to answer any of those questions. Wish you guys the best of luck with the project. Congrats on the new daughter, and I hope you have a wonderful day. We are adjourned.